I watched Insidious out of the further yesterday, and somewhere in the middle of the film, I realized something. I don't think I'm scared of the further anymore, and that's actually a problem. Because when the first Insidious came out, the further was one of the creepiest ideas modern horror had given us. Think about the original movie. For the first half, you are watching another haunted house film, strange noises, things moving, creepy figures. So the family does what every sensible horror movie family should do. They move. And then James Wan pulls the rug from underneath us. The house was never haunted. Dalton was. And that for me remains one of the smartest things Insidious has ever done. Because suddenly you can't escape the horror by leaving the house. You're haunted, you are the haunted house. And then we are introduced to the further. And what made the further terrifying wasn't what we saw. It was what we didn't understand. Why are these people standing there? Where exactly are we? How long have these spirits been here? What else is hiding in the darkness? Remember that smiling family from the first movie? They barely do anything. And very terrifying. Because your imagining is doing half the work. And that's where I think the franchise slowly created a problem for itself. We have been to the further again and again and again. We have learned how people enter it. We have learned how people leave it. We have met spirits. We have learned their histories. We have literally walked around the place. And horror has one fundamental rule. The moment you understand the darkness, you become slightly less afraid of it. It is the same reason the first Alien was so terrifying. You don't know what this creature is. You don't know what it can do. You don't know where it is. Mystery creates fear. Mythology creates familiarity. And Insidious has gradually transformed the further from a nightmare into a location. And I completely agree with that. And now, out of the further does introduce something I generally find interesting. Gemma doesn't simply enter the further, she can potentially become something back from it. And that's actually a huge evolution from the concept. Until now, the basic fear was, what if something from there gets you? Now the question becomes, what if you bring something from there into our world? And that's a much more dangerous idea. Because now the boundary isn't simply being crossed, it's being carried. And if they continue this franchise, that is the idea I want them to explore. Not a bigger demon, not another creepy face behind someone. The consequences of bringing something back that was never supposed to exist here. And that is where the Insidious is very different from the Conjuring. The Conjuring keeps changing the face of the evil. Annabelle, Valak, different cases, different families, different objects. But Insidious keeps returning to the same place, the further. And ironically, both the greatest thing about the franchise and the thing that's hurting it. Because how many times can you revisit the nightmare before you start recognizing the furniture? But underneath of all of this, there's something about Insidious that I think people don't discuss enough. These movies aren't really about demons. They're about grief. Think about it. Just think about it. Why do people reach into supernatural? Usually because they want someone back. A mother, a child, a person they have lost. That's why I actually have a soft spot for Insidious Chapter 3. Quinn desperately wants to contact her dead mother, and something else answers. That's horrifying because it uses something incredibly human against you, hope. And that's what the further really represents to me. Not hell, temptation, the possibility that the person you lost might still be somewhere. And if somebody told you there was even a 1% chance you could speak to them again, wouldn't you be tempted to go looking for them? That's where Insidious at its best. And I so wish that which Insidious movie is the best for you is what I want to know. For me, it's still the one. Chapter 2 probably explains the mythology better than any of them. Chapter 3 has a surprisingly emotional core. The last key gives us Ellie's past. The red door deals with trauma that has been suppressed rather than healed. And out of order tries to push the mythology somewhere new. But the original does something none of the sequels can ever completely recreate. It makes us enter the first film. We don't understand it. We don't know it. and really terrified to find out. And maybe that's what the next Insidious needs. Not more mythology, less. Stop explaining things. Stop showing me everything. Put something in the corner of a room and don't tell me what it is. Because that's the scariest thing James Bond gave us wasn't the lipstick face demon. It was the jump scares. It wasn't even the jump scares. It wasn't even the further. It was not knowing what was waiting inside. And after 6 movies, maybe the biggest problem with Insidious is simply this. We have been in the dark for so long, I have finally adjusted.